And we welcome you to D2EastHoops.org. It's the 2016-2017 Women's Basketball East Coast Conference Season Preview. Alongside Steve Zerdelian and Chris Granozio, I'm Tim McCaffrey. Don Familo producing the program for us. And guys, there's one team that is no longer part of the East Coast Conference. It's the Dowling Golden Lions. They went bankrupt, so they no longer exist, so the conference goes from 11 teams to 10 this season. We start off with last year's NCAA Sweet 16 New York Tech.
Well, the Bears have a brand new head coach in Kenny Parham, as Anthony Cressida all left and took the head job at St. Leo College in Florida. And a key loss is certainly probably the best player in NYIT history, Dina Regab, who averaged 16 and 16.8 a game, was the ECC Player of the Year. But on the bright side, pretty much everybody else is back for the Bears, and they got a lot of talent there. In the backcourt, you've got Nina Vukasalovic, who was a second-team East Coast Conference All-Star. Shanice Allen, also in the backcourt. They averaged 11 points apiece. Shannon Dewar up front, a double-double machine, 11 points, 11 boards a game. She was also a second-team ECC player. And Julie Williams averaged almost 10 a game. They have depth back as well. So even though the head coach and Regab, the all-time leading scorer, have left the scene for NYIT, this is still going to be a good team. We'll just have to see how the mix is with the new head coach and if roles change.
And also styles with the new head coach. Last year, the Bears led the ECC in points scored at over 71 a game. They shot almost 41% as a team, which led the conference as well. Also, they were just in the top three in most categories, especially in the offensive end. They like to press. They like to run. Will those be standards for the new head coach and the new team? We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, they had the best year in program history last year at 26-9, and they gave Bentley all they could handle in the regional championship game. They were just terrific last year. When you come off a high of a season like that and you change certain things, you have a new coach and you lose a key player, sometimes it's easy to have that bubble burst. So the challenge for NYIT is to sort of recapture the hunger that got them to that point last year.
The Queens Knights, 21-9 a season ago, and an NCAA tournament bid to show for it. Where do they end up this season after a great year from just 1 year ago?
Yeah, 21 wins last season, and it's all about the Rowlands, Madison and Mackenzie Rowland. Numerous other regulars are back, but let's be honest, it revolves around them. Madison Rowland may be the most versatile player in the country. Just the numbers really knock you out. 21 points a game, 9.5 rebounds a game, 4 assists a game, 4.5 steals a game. Obviously first team all ECC, but her sister Mackenzie, a completely different player in the post, averaging almost 14 points a game, 11 boards per game. She was also a first team ECC member. So there's a lot back for Queens. They do lose a couple of key players, in particular maybe the best glue player in the conference in Kristen Korzavinsky. But they're looked at as a favorite in the East Coast Conference. The coaches poll, which has already come out, chose them as the preseason favorite. So the expectations are there for Queens, Chris, and they've got what it takes to match them, but everybody's gunning now for the Knights.
Yeah, if they have a weakness, they're not a strong perimeter shooting team, but with the Rowland sisters, they can make up for that anywhere else on the floor. And they have a couple of newcomers, actually 6 of them, including 2 transfers. They could be a very important combination here with the Rowlands and the returning players. I think Queens could, if everything clicks properly, this could be a team that could challenge Bentley when it comes down to March, maybe for the regional supremacy.
All right, Bentley knocked them out in the regional semifinal last year. Interestingly for Queens, they had an up-and-down regular season last year despite the 21 wins. The key for them is to get to the postseason healthy and with everybody firing. If they can do that, then they're a really dangerous out.
We continue with the teams in the order they finished in the 2015-2016 season. The District of Columbia Firebirds won the press conference this offseason by the signing of Juan Dixon as their new head coach, former NBA player Marilyn Turp. But will they win games on the basketball floor, Steve?
Well, the fact that they lost 4 of their top 5 scorers is not going to help matters for Juan Dixon. Among them, Taj Baldwin-Kalori, who averaged 16.5 a game, and Iman Scott, who averaged 13.5, are gone. On the plus side, Tiara Good is back, and she averaged almost 11 a game last year. Chantrell Oliver, who didn't play last year, is also back. Lots of changes, though, going on at UDC, and it's pretty difficult to ask a new head coach to come into a program that lost 4 of its top 5 scorers and expect to win 20 plus games again.
Yeah, Firebirds head coach and the fans are both going to have to really learn a lot of new faces, and numbers need the program to maybe familiarize themselves. Major rebuilding underway down in the nation's capital, but you never know. There's plenty of talent down in the Capital District.
Quick, name the only team in the region to win a national championship last year. If you said Roberts Wesleyan Redhawks, you're correct. They didn't win an NCAA title, but they did win an NCCSA Division I title, and they tied for the region lead with Bentley in wins with 29. They just missed the NCAA tournament this year. Do they just miss or make the NCAA tournament this year, Steve?
I feel like they're going to make the NCAA tournament. I think they're a really strong team. They came pretty close to doing it last year. Head coach Gary Andrews is an outstanding coach. Did a great job with this program last season. The one fly in the ointment here is they did lose Samantha Courtney, their post player, who was terrific and one of the best post players in the region. 16.5 points, 11 rebounds a game. That's hard to replace. On the plus side, they've got a terrific perimeter group with Brooke Fields, who emerged last year, averaging 15.5 a game. Lucy Covely is an excellent three-point shooter. Nasita James, a good athlete. And about a half a dozen other regulars are back for the Redhawks. So this is a program that is now among the better programs year in, year out in this region. At some point, they'll break through and win an ECC title and get to the NCAA tournament. And if it's this year, I wouldn't be surprised.
Played a very competitive championship game last year at UDC for the ECC title. Just came out on the short end, and this is a team that you can sense they taste it. They're on the edge of glory, and with those perimeter players and Courtney's graduation, they might have to change their style a little bit. But this is a team that certainly is headed in the right direction and could be a factor.
Joe Pelican's Malloy squad finished the season winning 7 of their last 8 games, and was definitely trending in the right direction to finish 12-17 last season, but they lose 4 starters, including the 3 top scorers. But it's a pros and cons deal for Joe Pelican's squad, as he has 4 transfers, including 3 from the Division I level.
This will be a very different Lions team from a season ago. Joe Pelican, if you can't remember, was the head coach at Dowling when they won the regional championship just a few years ago. So he knows what he's doing. That there's no doubt about that. But it's a very different team now. The top returning scorer is Aaliyah McDonald, who averaged 7.5 a game. And there's only 5 returnees back. So really there's going to have to be a lot of work done in the preseason and probably early in the season as things move along. But as they did last year, they tend to peak later in the season. And if they do that again, they may be a better team than they were at the end of last season.
Yes, ended the season very strongly. And Joe Pelican, no stranger to big games. He took his team, as you said, for Dowling all the way to the national championship game a couple of years ago, and is back at his second stint with Malloy. And he is definitely a very good coach and has got some weapons to work with this year.
A lot was expected out of St. Thomas Aquinas' team last year, but Kim Luck's team disappointed before surging late to reach the playoffs. They returned quite a bit of their scoring off last year's squad.
Interesting to say that. I think it's true, but they also won 18 games.
Yeah.
So when you characterize a team as slightly disappointing, and yet they won 18 games, surged late to get into the playoffs, that augurs well for this season. They do have a lot of players back. Jenna Erickson, one of the better perimeter players in the conference, averaging 14.5 points a game, and good depth there as well. So I think they feel like they might be a little bit under the radar, but they're going to be a pretty good team, and I tend to agree with that assessment.
Yeah, their losses aren't huge losses. Allison Brennan and Casey Solinsky amongst those, but they do bring back quite a bit, and I think Stack, with their newcomers that they're very high on, could certainly move up the range.
Jen Carlton's Bridgeport Purple Knight squad 10-18 a year ago, but they're going the transfer route this year. 5 newcomers, all transfers, Steve.
Yeah, they're slowly gaining ground here. They almost made the playoffs a year ago. She took over a program that was almost gutted, so it's been a little bit of a hard slog, but she's put in the miles to get players that she likes and her style of players, and it's going to start to bear fruit a little bit. Khadijah Dixon was last year's ECC Rookie of the Year, had an excellent season, averaging 13 points a game. You've got some other attorneys like Evelyn Ovner and Morgan Caution, and when you add some of the players into the mix, including 6'5" Samuel Vonley, who transferred from St. Anselm, this Bridgeport team might be ready for a little bit of a jump.
Thanks for sticking with us on the D2EastHoops.org East Coast Conference 2016-2017 season preview. We continue along with Damon. The Wildcats have a new head coach, but they've also got a key returner in the Sarah Saba, the leading rebounder in the ECC. And Steve, Damon 9-17 a year ago, but they have the top 7 scorers back this season.
Sarah Saba to me is one of the most talented players in the region. She averaged 6.5 boards a game, so not quite the leading rebounder, but averaged 16.5 points a game. She's got good length, and she's a really skilled player. Natalie Gallus also a solid returnee. They've got their top 7 scorers back. The question is, how does new head coach Jennifer Banker deploy this group? They'll have to overcome a couple of losses like Rayanne Stillwell and Samara Cologne. But despite losing a couple of players and having a couple of areas where they need to get better, Chris, I think this is a team that has a lot of potential.
Yeah, one area where they need to improve is three-point shooting. They were just about 26% last year, and that certainly hurt their chances, and it led to an early 9-game losing streak, which kind of torpedoed their chances of going very far in the season. But if they can avoid a really bad start to the season, I think they could be one of those teams that could really vie for a playoff bid.
It's been a trend in the down direction for Deidre Moore's LIU post team, 5-23 a year ago, and that's the good news. The bad news is the top 4 scorers all gone off last year's squad.
There's a huge turnover from last season. They did lose a lot of key players, including Nyasha Davis, who had a good season in the post. Among the players back, the leading scorer was Janasia James, who averaged 6 points a game. I think a couple of other players who showed some promise, like Shannon Doyle, but they've got they've got a bunch of newcomers in. Stack transfer Kristen Olsen is eligible, so I think she'll help. But in a lot of ways, Chris, this is a program that's kind of starting fresh, and they didn't exactly have a great season last year, so there's a lot of work to do to get things going back in the other direction.
And Deirdre Moore knows from strong times, because she was there when she took her team to several NCAA tournaments. They were always a powerful team that played with a lot of character, a lot of depth. And last year it just wasn't there. And now she's got to get them back. But she is a talented coach and knows what she's doing. She knows talent, and it's just a matter of getting the right pieces there to work with, and she does have the track record, and they hope that she can get them back to their glory years.
It looked like Mercy was starting to turn the corner last season, but 11 losses in a row to end the year means a new head coach for the Mavericks of Mercy. Jim Harder, new to the women's basketball side after years coaching the Pace University men's basketball team. Can Mercy finally turn the corner this season, Steve?
It's going to be pretty difficult, frankly. I mean, you want a challenge, you've got a challenge in Mercy here. It's not easy. They do have a handful of players who were solid rotation players a year ago. Sheila Beatty averaged 8.5 points a game. The likes of Paxton Reddington, Cynthia Perez, and Casey Sullivan all were at least dependable type players. But they lost Deasia Goodson, who had an excellent season, as well as Tatiana Parrish. And Chris, this team last year, they struggled in a lot of areas, and it's going to take a lot to turn this around quickly.
They were severely challenged on the offensive end. They averaged a league worst 54 points per game. Also just shot 32% from the floor. And when you add that to a 20.5 turnovers per game number, it's a recipe for disaster. They've got to work on all those numbers if they even want to seek a 500 type finish.
Steve, earlier you mentioned that you thought Roberts Wesleyan was an NCAA tournament team this season. Is this a 3-bid league? Can they get a second team? Where does the season end up in the East Coast Conference?
We know. Well, they had 2 last year, and they came close to 3. I think there's a chance for 3 in this league. Roberts Wesleyan to me is very good. Queens is very good. I think NYIT is still very good, and it speaks a lot to where this conference is going when you look not just at the top, but you look at the middle tier, and you see that there are some very, very good teams there. St. Thomas Aquinas is a good club. Bridgeport is getting better. Malloy will be better. I think Damon will be better. And you look at UDC, they're traditionally good. They're going to have to recover. LIU Post can't struggle this badly again. So the competition in the ECC has been very good year on year, and it continues to get better. And to me, I look at those top 3 or 4 teams, and I see postseason quality there. Whether it plays out that way or not, we'll have to see. It's a very competitive landscape out there. But this is going to be a very interesting year in the East Coast Conference.
I agree with Steve. I think Roberts Wesleyan is the team to beat, at least on paper. Queens is certainly very capable of also doing some damage. And if you look for a team that might surprise, I like Damon. I think they're a club with a new head coach that could make some waves and be a little bit special this year.
And that wraps us up on the 2016-2017 Women's Basketball East Coast Conference season preview here on D2EastHoops.org. For Steve Zerdelian and Chris Granozio, I'm Tim McCaffrey. Also, thanks to Don Familo for manning the controls. Stay tuned for other previews from other conferences right here on D2EastHoops.org.